Good morning and welcome to our second and final day of the 2020 State of Possible Conference, MassBio's annual meeting. The pandemic has overshadowed an important and encouraging trend this year in life sciences, and that is the industry is doing well both despite and because of COVID-19. MassBio highlighted this very recently in its annual Industry Snapshot, which tracks the industry across a variety of metrics. Right now, biotech investment is growing at its fastest rate since 2007. In the first 6 months of this year, our companies raised $2.1 billion, compared to $3.1 billion during all of last year. You can learn full details in MassBio's Industry Snapshot at massbio.org. Now, quick highlights for today. Breakout sessions on everything from artificial intelligence to digital health. A possible talk from an impressive young woman who may be the life sciences star of tomorrow. Our prestigious State of Possible Award, which we'll present to Dr. Ken Anderson. And our keynote address from Dr. Susan Hockfield. That's all coming up. But first, we gratefully acknowledge and thank our many sponsors. Please check out their virtual exhibits. You'll be surprised at how much these exhibits have to offer. The State of Possible would be impossible without the support of our platinum sponsor, Morgan Stanley. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce you to Jed Finn of Morgan Stanley to deliver our first possible talk today. Jed?
Thanks, Mike. It's great to be here with everyone virtually this morning. As Mike said, my name is Jed Finn, and I'm the COO of Morgan Stanley Wealth Management, and I'm also responsible for our corporate and institutional solutions organization, where we've recently invested in services that we can deliver through the workplace to help our clients. What was clear in serving our existing clients are those clients who have recently started companies or CEOs or CFOs have identified a huge gap in terms of the corporate services that they've received as they go through the different life stages of their companies, from private to public, as they grow and have more employees, as they feel like they've got a duty to deliver to those employees around not just compensation and work, but health and benefits and financial literacy. And so in listening to those clients, we've developed a new offering around Morgan Stanley at Work, which is what I'm going to be talking to you all about today. And so we're going to cover really three topics. Number one, how we pivoted to Morgan Stanley at Work and why this is an important part of our strategy. Number two, the benefits for the employers. And number three, most importantly, the benefits for the employees and what you as an employer can deliver to them. So I would start with the premise that the Morgan Stanley Wealth Management franchise over the last couple of years has executed in order to serve our clients in a differentiated fashion from our competitors. Since 2014, we've consistently grown in terms of, number one, how we serve clients as indicated by the assets we have under management, and number two, how we actually run the business. And you can see just over the last 5 years, we've become number one in assets from the largest base, but we've stayed number one. We have grown our revenue at a faster pace than our peers. And as a result of that, our margins have increased as well. And you can see today we have about 50% of the profits in the industry versus 25% 4 or 5 years ago. So we've really grown, and we've grown as a result of successfully delivering to our clients. The question, though, that we often get asked by investors and analysts and even our own board is, where does growth come from, right, going forward? When you've taken a huge share of an existing client base, how do you continue to grow as a firm? And for us, that client base, the way we define our target client, it tends to be over $1 million and clients who are older than 50. And we love being in part of that market because they're the largest segment, right? We estimate that that segment holds about 60% of the 30 or so trillion of investable assets in the United States. But even more importantly, 10 years from now, that exact same cohort, so we're talking about clients who are older than 60 and still have $1 million in assets, will still be 60% of the investable assets in the United States. But that pool has grown from 30 trillion to 50 trillion over that same period of time. So we're playing in the largest and the fastest growing pool of assets, which we love. The challenge, though, is there's another almost as large pool that's actually growing faster from a percentage perspective that we historically have had no value proposition for. And of course, I'm talking about the more mass affluent segments of the market, those who are earlier in their wealth accumulation journey. And we haven't had any resources for those types of clients because that's not historically been our sweet spot. We have scale, we've got product capabilities, we've got intellectual capital, we've got a world-class brand, we've got thousands of researchers and economists cranking out content, but we haven't actually packaged it for that emerging segment. And so when we get those questions from our board, from the investors, from the analysts, well, why aren't you going after that segment directly? Why aren't you launching a direct to client brand? And we as a management team, however, have resisted that because we didn't feel like we had anything that was compellingly differentiated for that client group, right? We haven't been investing in a digital brand for the last 20 plus years, like those folks who are taking out advertisements in the Super Bowl, et cetera. We don't have a infrastructure that's set up to go digitally, meaning everything we do for our clients currently happens in the branch. And unlike even some of our wirehouse competitors, and when I say wirehouse, I'm talking about the full service wealth management firms, we're not attached to a massive retail bank that has one out of every two clients or one out of every two households in the US as a client. So we have not gone after a direct to client model. However, where we do have something that we would argue is compellingly differentiated and is a place where we as a firm could potentially take share is in the corporate and institutional space, right? That is the legacy of the Morgan Stanley brand. This firm grew up around helping companies address their most significant strategic challenges. And a couple of years ago, after we bought a small software management company called Solium, the power of that B2B brand was on full display. And for those of you less familiar with the story, the reason why we bought Solium is because we had a stock plan administration capability at Morgan Stanley that our clients didn't feel was up to par in terms of what they could get in the industry. So they loved the financial advice they were getting from their advisor, but they didn't like the actual software. So we went and we bought a small Canadian software company whose software was best in class. It's cloud-based and it's customizable and it can deliver comprehensive reporting for both the employer and the employee on the stock plan side. But what we saw once we bought them is this combination of best in class software and best in class advice really was resonating with the corporate buyer. And not only did our existing clients agree to stay with us and continue to receive that best in class advice, but now they would get the best in class software, we started to win new business at a much faster rate. And even more compelling, after we would win the stock plan business, the companies would come to us and say, well, can you help us with these other issues that we're dealing with, our 401k plan, or financial literacy and education for the employees, or even wealth management for our employees. So we knew we had stumbled on to something that we thought was pretty special when your clients are asking you, after you deliver them one capability, can you deliver even more? And so for us, the launch of the workplace strategy and that pivot is really a function, as always, of listening to what our clients are asking us for. And now we're really excited about the service offering that we're delivering because we are getting access to a huge pool of potential clients in the form of employees while they're in the process of accumulating wealth, as opposed to trying to compete for their business in the open market after they become wealthy. And the other critical point to that is it's in partnership with the employer themselves. And I'll talk about that shortly, but that employer is endorsing us both implicitly, but also explicitly when Morgan Stanley comes on campus and we bring those resources that I was talking about and we bring that intellectual capital, we, in partnership with the employer, are now delivering a differentiated experience for the employee. So let me now just switch to what that looks like if you're a corporate buyer and you want to think about participating within the Morgan Stanley at Work ecosystem. The way that we're thinking about it is cradle to grave set of services that we can deliver to the corporate buyer. So at the very beginning of the company life cycle, when you're private, you think about, how do I manage my cap table and how do I make all the adjustments through different series rounds that you're raising. You also might need 409A valuations for the stock options. You might want HR data. What do I pay a scientist in Texas? You might also want global compliance data. All of those things are part of the offering that we deliver in the private market space. Then as you shift and you grow and you think about going public, you might need to borrow money. You obviously might need to actually do an IPO. Morgan Stanley, as I said before, grew up helping corporations deal with those types of strategic challenges. Once you're public, you need your 10b5-1 plans, you need your directed share program, you need your stock plan, 401k, non-qual deferred comp, which is growing increasingly important from a regulatory perspective, as well as from a senior management compensation perspective. And then, of course, you want someone to partner with you who can deliver financial literacy and advice to your employees. And so the way that we look at that is Morgan Stanley can be your partner every step of the way. While there are companies who do a great job in the private market space, they tend to fall down once companies go from private to public. At the other end of the spectrum, there are competitors who have really great boutique services for just the C-suite, but then there's nothing for them to deliver to the employees. Because not only do we have the intellectual capital and the content, but we also have 16,000 advisors across the country where they can meet and provide coaching and education and literacy for those employees, no matter where they're located. And so if I think about this end-to-end set of services that wealth management delivering, there's really three critical benefits of it for the company. Number one, because we can deliver every single one of those services, we can be very competitive in terms of what the company will pay us, because we're going to make it up in the broader scale that we're delivering, and we're going to make it up in delivering wealth management for the company's employees. So we will have the lowest price relative to any other service that's being delivered. Number two, because Morgan Stanley is delivering all of those things, it's a very seamless purchasing experience for the corporate owner, whether it's the CFO or the CEO or the benefits provider. Everything can be done on a single institutional portal that we're in the process of releasing. And if you're, for example, the benefits administrator, you can get very complex and sophisticated reporting around what percentages of your employees are matching in the 401k side. Or if you've turned on the wellness capability, and I'll talk about that in a second, you can see how many of your employees are on track. Or you can see from a stock plan perspective, how many of your employees are selling and how many of them are holding and how many of them are participating in the ESPP plans as well. So there's a tremendous amount of insight you get for how your employees are interacting with the services that you're providing. And then even most importantly, for the employees, which we look at as our core mission, how we're delivering value to those employees and those clients, you get a seamless integrated experience. So when you log on to the stock plan side and you want to see, okay, when are my shares vesting, you can easily see all of that information, but then you can click a tab and see, okay, what's my current value in my 401k? And then even more importantly, you can tie it to your individual wealth management account. So you lock on to Morgan Stanley Online, and in one spot, you can see all of your individual holdings, all of your workplace holdings, and any other account that you've linked together. So if you then want to say, you know, what's going to be the impact of lower rates for longer across my entire set of assets, you can easily get reporting around that. If you have a question and you want to talk to someone, you can either work with one of our advisors in person, you can work with one of our remote advisors, or you can take one of our digital education tools to help understand how you're positioned for retirement or how you're positioned for college savings. So there's a huge amount of power you get by having everything centralized in one place. And so we're really excited about what we're delivering over the next couple of months. And for those companies who are already working with us, they're already starting to see the benefit. Maybe the last thing I'll cover is around what the employee gets, because we think financial wellness is the next 10 years is the gym membership of the last 10 years, meaning the things that are creating stress for employees is slowly shifting. We've done a ton of research around this, and what we found is 60% of employees say that financial stress is the biggest cause of stress in their life. We have 75% of those same employees surveyed say they want a financial wellness program delivered by their employer, and they would participate in one, but less than 30% actually get them. And we've seen that the ones who actually do get them, it's linked with greater levels of satisfaction at work, greater productivity, and a better feeling towards the company and retention for those employees. So there's really only upside to delivering financial wellness. And that's something that Morgan Stanley can actually partner with a company to deliver at very, very little incremental cost to the employer. It's just how you integrate those systems and some tech work on your side. But the benefit to the employee is several fold, right? Number one is we've got over 150 different content modules that employees can look at, from how do I think about receiving equity awards, to how do I think about saving for retirement, to advanced planning strategies for LGBTQ families, for example. You also get access to a set of diagnostic tools where you take a test and it tells you how you are prepared for your different goals. So first you identify the goals, and then it looks at your likelihood of meeting those goals. And then finally, as I was saying before, you've got the opportunity to work with a Morgan Stanley specialist, whether it be an in-person advisor or someone who can deliver remote advice to help make sure you stay on your path. And the reason why this is so powerful is not just because we have a diagnostic tool, or we've got content modules that help you understand some of the more complex financial concepts, but it's all backed by that same scale and power of the institution that I talked about earlier, right? So you can grow with Morgan Stanley as your financial needs become more complex without ever having to shift providers. And as I said, we started from the place of dealing with the most complexity. So we've got the largest alternatives platform, larger than our other competitors combined. We've got sophisticated investment products that you can have access to as your needs become more complex. We've got robust lending solutions, everything from mortgages to securities-based lending to tailored lending. We also have trusts and estate lawyers and planners who can help you think through how you structure your financial life. And all of that comes within the same four walls of Morgan Stanley, backed by the brand, the resources, and the scale of a firm that's unlike a lot of the other wellness providers that exist. So maybe I'll close with number one, the reason why this is differentiated is because it's integrated in both levels. It's integrated for the employer in the sense that your entire experience in working with Morgan Stanley is seamless, and you can continuously add services that benefit you as well as your employees. It's integrated for the employees. It's a one-stop place to go to deliver all the things that they might need as they go through their financial journey, from actual investment products all the way through to literacy and education. And then it's finally all wrapped in the scale and capabilities of a world recognized brand and institution. And so with that, I will close, but to the extent that anyone has any questions about how to work with Morgan Stanley or how to benefit from the services that we provide, you'll know where to find me. Thanks.